our world, Krystl Gambito, which that's your maiden name. I don't know if you wanted to go by your full legal name right now.
Yeah, everyone knows me as Krystl Gambito, so
Okay,
yes.
welcome to Filipina on the Rise. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me, Krystl.
Of course. And you are looking really like voluptuous with your hair. I'm loving the
Ugh.
look.
It's called scrunching real quick and trying to achieve a quarantine something of make something of the quarantine mess here.
Right. What does your shirt say, by the way?
Oh, this is the Ay Nako,
Oh,
the classic
perfect.
Ay Nako shirt.
Of course.
It's
Okay.
just, when I don't know what to wear, I always just grab the Ay Nako. Why not? It's easy.
I just want to say that you are like 100% always like funny. Like it's not, I just realized like even it's a flow thing for you. Like if you're just talking to anybody, you're probably making them laugh and you don't even know it. So
I try to put them
and
at
as I
ease. I'm a
know,
little crazy.
yes, the aunties will come out. And as I know, that actually started at a young age when you would impersonate people or kind of perform for family members. When do you feel like that started for you?
I think my lolo, my grandfather, in case you guys don't know what is lolo, he always had the latest gadgets back this is in the 80s now, dating myself, but he had a big old VCR,
VCR.
not VCR on his shoulder, VHS
Camera.
camera
Video
recorder. I don't
camera.
know what
Yeah.
the official name for that, but anyway, over the shoulder type of. And there are old tapes of me just being a ham and acting all kind of crazy, which my 4-year-old daughter now acts like that. I'm like, so that's
Yes.
what they were putting up. But I think the acting naturally started coming out because they were like, you're so OA. Like I grew up hearing that all the time. You're so OA, Krystl, you're so OA. And then I would start imitating. Next thing you know, they're asking me to imitate. Go imitate your auntie so imitate your sister, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your this and that. So it became a natural stand-up comedy show, but I didn't realize it was stand-up comedy because those Filipino gatherings on Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving, or it can just even be potlucks at your extended family at their house when they get bored after everyone eats, they recline.
Yes.
They say,
They
okay,
let their food sit. And who's going to entertain us now?
where's the entertainment? Come on, get the kids. Okay, you play piano, and they have this recital, and it's like, you recite your poem.
Totally.
And then for me, it was like, Krystl, you imitate do imitation on demand. So it was very natural for me to do that, but it wasn't years and years later that I realized, oh, I actually can do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
That's what that was back then.
Like, that's what that was the whole time. And the OG comedy club was the Filipino potlucks.
Exactly.
Nice. Very awesome. Well, I'm super excited to learn more about not just your journey, but who Krystl Gambito is outside of what we know from, the platforms and growing up with you on YouTube. I think you have an incredible story to be shared. It's so multi-layered. And I know from our intro talk, I was like, this is going to be a good discussion. So everybody hold on very tight. Get ready for laughs and some happy tears maybe, and a lot of just Krystl energy. So
oh my God.
we'll get started. Krystl,
I'll be jumping through the screen at you. Okay.
Yes. We're ready.
Okay.
In your own words,
Yeah.
who is Krystl Gambito and what is your current mission?
See, this is Krystl being a kind of Oprah, a kind of Barbara Walters, going straight to the heart. Who are you, Krystl? But I like that. She helped me. She prompted me so that I wouldn't just be sitting here going, but it does go back to like what I would put in a one-liner on like my Instagram bio, but I can kind of unfold that for you a little bit here.
Yes.
So if I only have one line and I have to say who I am, it would first be Christian, and not as some just religious label that sounds good, or like I worked for that,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean, like I worked hard to have this
Yeah.
label and I've earned it. No, 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 no. In fact,
Mm.
an interesting tidbit is that my parents thought they were going to have a boy, and so they had the name Christian picked
Wow.
out, and the meaning of Christian is follower of Christ. But of course, I came out a girl. But then I don't, why am I saying that in a Filipino accent? But they said, oh, I guess her name will be Christine, which also means follower of Christ. So when I say Christian is my first overarching identity, follower of Christ, only by his grace can I be a follower of Christ. So definitely not I'm a Christian, I'm holier than thou type of, no, 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 no. That's just kind of what directs everything in my life. So I say that's the first thing that defines me, overarching identity. Then wife of 26 years over here underneath that identity. So there's that identity. Part of, I shouldn't say like I switch personalities and I have these different identities. I'm
Yeah.
saying what makes me as a person. Okay, Christian, wife of 26 years now and counting, mother of 4.
Yeah.
So that umbrella and then those two identities is what defines me as a person.
Yes.
And then sometimes comedian is down here.
Yeah.
It's not so much an identity, but more of an activity. It's
Yeah.
something I do. It's just something I naturally do. So
Mhm.
not an identity, but yeah,
No.
it's what most people are familiar with because they might see the comedy online or they see that first and foremost. So that's where that sits. So that defines, that's Krystl Gambito
I
right
love
there in a
that.
nutshell. As far as my current mission, if you would ask me last year, so pre 2020, I would have thought my mission would be, hey, continue the live shows. You know, I did 22
Yeah.
cities last year, and I would have thought current mission, continue that. Yeah. And then 2020 happened, and it's
You're
like,
like,
okay, that's all right.
oh.
Maybe not. That's okay. Because again, you go back to, everything always goes back to the overarching identity. Okay, Lord, you are in control. And right now, my plan is not coming to fruition,
Mhm.
but there's always something that can come creative of that time, even though you didn't intend for it to be that
Intent
way.
or anticipate it. Yeah.
Yeah, so my current mission right now is utilizing my creativity to pour into homeschooling. It's my 9th year of homeschooling to begin
Oh,
with. So it wasn't a
so
new
you're ready
thing.
for this. Yeah.
So I was like kind of like, but the thing is, now all 4 are schooling. So before it wasn't so hard, but now even with Sayla going, I want my school, I want, and I'm like, oh, but wait a minute, you know, everyone's getting, you know, older quickly. So I
Yeah.
feel like I pour a lot of my creativity into
Yeah.
them, and so since the comedy tour isn't happening, I'm pouring a lot of creativity into a new family business. So my husband's business. So I'm in support of that. That's the season that I'm in right now. That's my current
Exactly.
mission.
Yeah.
Now, what it'll look like next year, I have
Who
no
knows?
idea. It's a lot of
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
adjusting to
Yeah.
however he's going to lead and what, you know, what the circumstances are. So,
Can I just say, I really love that you define your identity in terms of your faith. And
oh,
I mean, it's clear that it pours into everything that you do and who you are. So that's really inspiring. I think with our community, we're a very faith-filled community. And so
yeah.
to just to hear that is encouraging. And I totally feel you. I feel like that's kind of paralleling to how quarantine has gone for so many people. Just 2020, we had these big visions and this was going to happen and that. And then you're like, just kidding, we'll do this. Just kidding that. And like, okay, I can't predict anything anymore. So I'm just going to flow. and what you did is, I know that you kind of transitioned also you did some shows online.
Mm-hmm.
I think you started a comedy live show, right? Too. You tried that for a
Oh
while on
yes, oh
Facebook. Yeah.
yes. That was I did have a month of trying, and I shouldn't say trying as if it, you know, that I
Oh, it
didn't
was
enjoy
great.
it.
Yeah.
I loved it a lot, but it took a lot of planning, and it I realized with the kids' ages now, I wouldn't be able to do that on a weekly basis. So I still would look
Yeah.
forward if I get some time here. to be able to gather the content to do a show, like a live streaming show. I don't like to just sit there on a live stream and be like,
What's up,
so,
guys?
I mean, I could improv something, I'm sure, but I don't want to. I want people to kind of look forward to something that's a little
Yeah,
bit
planned
prepared
out.
there.
Mm.
So I still will do that if I get some time. But man, nothing beats the stage as far
Oh,
as getting them live shows in. So
yeah. Oh, we're totally gonna dig into that. I felt the energy as you were talking about it, about what it's like to be on the stage with a live audience and your jokes.
sorry. Do you
No,
hear
it's
that?
okay. No, I keep thinking that's me, and I'm like freaking out, like, who's calling me?
You hear that on the recording? That's
No worries, we could.
that's my kids' cousins. Oh no, gosh. How do I is there a way I can just turn FaceTime off, or will it just pop up again?
I think you can go on preferences. Don't worry, we can cut this out. I think you can go on preferences on FaceTime. So pull up FaceTime.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then
let
I
me
had to do this the other day too because I was getting calls. Like it's almost like when we start recording, that's when people like call you.
that's when it but the kids, yeah, they're always calling their cousins on there, and so it'll be I should have
Yeah.
thought about that. Oh, so if it says turn FaceTime off,
Um,
do you think that would like do it, or do I need to go to preferences?
I think you should go
Enable
go on.
sign out. What about sign out?
Do you
That
want
will totally do it. Now no one can call on that. There we go. Oh, okay. I want to be like this
I
every.
feel bad. I just made you sign out. Gosh.
Oh no, I don't need to be on there. That's the kids doing that. Uh,
Okay. Um,
anyway,
I,
and
that
you were okay. So you're gonna start recording, and then I feel like I got distracted because the
it,
kids were screaming. But we were okay. Go ahead.
it's okay.
Okay.
Well, I lost whatever I was talking about, but to get back on it, um, no, this happened. This literally happened to me in my last recording, and I was like, I'm sorry. So I think I really want to take it back, take us way back
Hmm.
to, pre-comedy, pre-YouTube, all that stuff. Um, Maybe right around before then. Would really love to learn about your upbringing and what really formed your journey as, especially how being Filipina kind of influenced your journey into where you are now. But maybe let's take it back around the time before you started YouTube and what kind of sparked that interest. I think a lot of people initially we knew you from being HappySlip, right?
Hmm.
And so take us around that time when you started and kind of how that growth journey was from that point on.
Sure. Let's take you way back. And you might have heard me typing. I was writing things that I might forget to talk about. But okay, so let's take you way back when I was uh, doing the performances in front of the family, but not realizing that that is something I should pursue. It's just something I
Mhm.
did for the family. Um, then you're talking about the awkward growing up years, the middle school years,
Yeah.
where it's like,
So so maybe like this was when YouTube was fairly new, and so we had a few people coming on. What was that season like for you when you're like, this is something I'm going to put out there in video content for this new YouTube world?
oh
Um,
right.
yeah.
Okay, let me oh, should I not should I go chronologically with
Yeah.
like the acting and then okay. So middle school awkward years, didn't have any confidence, totally ashamed of my bifocals and the glasses and the crooked teeth that my mom was like, okay, we're going to get you braces. And then I'd be like, no, not bifocals and braces. And then so it was this awkward year where my eighth grade teacher actually adopted me and as like her pet, okay, pet student. She just took me under her wing and saw something in me that I don't know how she saw it, because I was just in my shell, because I felt like I was unaccepted by the other kids. And so I just kind of went in my turtle shell. But she headed up the forensics team, which is public speaking. in the school. And anyway, that's what gave me the boost to all of a sudden have this confidence, because when she sent me to do the first competition and I was just going to read poetry in front of people, my tummy was in knots. I was crying. I was crawling all over the stairs and telling my mom, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. I can't. And she's like, well, don't do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You know, and this, like, I didn't have any confidence in myself. Sorry if I want to give you this like picture of how do I go from that to then a comedian. And then this teacher she just really believed in me, and she helped to shape me. So anyway, she coached me into writing my first original oratory speech. I get up there after much prep with her.
How old were you?
I was 13,
okay.
And my dad said that I was in this awful pastel striped dress that went from the neck to the floor, pretty much. I don't know why my mom had me wear that. I had the bifocals, and I stood up there with such confidence, and I spoke with authority. My dad said, with authority. And he said, everyone like looked. My mom said she couldn't look at me. People were looking away because they were like, daggers piercing.
Wow.
I had conviction with what I was talking about. I had someone believing in me. So my teacher, mentor, just kind of saying, you can do this. And so I blew that competition away, got first place in original oratory, and the teacher just threw her hands up when they announced my name. First place, Krystl Gambito. She was like, ah! She like stood up in front of the whole auditorium. They must have thought she was crazy. But that was a defining moment for me, because I was like, I can do anything.
Nice.
Right? And she goes up to me. She's like, you're going to be a lawyer. And I was like, no, I'm going to be an actress, right? I'm like, I'm going to be an actress.
A lawyer, yeah.
So there I am with my bifocal glasses, insisting that my dad, who had a photography business called Carl's Photography, okay? Carl's Photography. I said, Dad, you got to take headshot pictures of me. I forced him. So there I am with my bifocal glasses, posing for my first headshots. Like agents were actually going to pick me up and submit me for projects. Yeah. I was very hopeful. I didn't get no calls. I was wondering what. I guess I have to take classes. So there I am enrolling in like the local recreation center acting classes. Okay. And then fast forward to, I just knew I had to be an actress from then on. I ended up pursuing nursing, because my mom's like, what will be your backup skill? What's it gonna be your back? So I was like, what am I gonna do? You know, everyone's always talking about, you got to be a nurse, you got to be a lawyer, you're going to be an accountant, you're going to be. And so I ran up to my Auntie Salva. I said, Auntie Salva, you're a nurse. Should I do it? Because I really want to do acting. But what do you think about me doing nursing as a backup? She said, of course. What do you think of me? She said, I do nursing once a month if I want to. It's a flexibility, you know? And so all of a sudden I was like, yes. I want flexibility, but I'm also a people person. So anyway, I'm droning on and on. People are probably like, oh gosh, like shut her up. But enough to say, that's what led me to New York City, pursue the mainstream acting. I was playing by the rules of what you're supposed to do as an actress. Okay. And then, I mean, if I could go on to so many tangents, and I don't want to make this a 5-hour show, but in the end, what happened there is I tried to fit in a box of what is already invented, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, let me pick me to be a part, do a part and be a, you know, and never could I really show my true talents. I would just go and do the part and be in the box that they want, you know. And so fast forward to YouTube days, and I thought, well, here I already had a 1-year-old son, and I wanted to stay home with him. And so I was like, well, what can I do that combines passion, my passion, but also I can stay with him, but also how am I going to earn money? YouTube at the time did not have the paid partners yet. I was one of the first paid partners. But there was a site called Rever, and the idea was to make videos on YouTube, get the views, bring them over to the hosted site that has Rever on it, so you could make ad revenue, whatever, you know, you could make money that way. And so anyway, that is how it led to YouTube.
Gotcha.
And finally, I felt like I could do something uniquely
Mm,
me. Like I could define what I
what
was
you're
gonna do.
express?
I
Yeah,
could write,
exactly.
I could control every aspect of what I wouldn't have to go to an audition room and be the token Asian woman that they wanted and say the, I felt so constrained doing that. But
And this
here,
freed you. Yeah.
this definitely was like,
Wow.
wow, what a creative outlet. I would have done it anyway if
When
I didn't
it
pay
started
for it.
growing in the way that it did, were you like, "Ooh, like, dang, I didn't realize it was gonna be like this," or did you kind of like you're like sitting there like, "You guys are about to get something good. Are you ready?" You know?
Oh, no. Actually, the first video, I was hopeful, but the first video I put out in 5 minutes, I distinctly remember 55 views in
Wow.
like 5 minutes. And I thought, who's
Watching me.
55 people? And so I was shocked, and I was also scared because those first videos that came out, the first video was not Filipino based because I
Mm,
didn't want people, I was afraid that people might misread what I was doing and thinking I was making
making
fun of
fun. Yeah,
Filipinos
okay.
in a bad way.
Mhm.
When what I do is more of a, this is a reflection of what I grew up in. This is
Yeah.
my life. This is representative of me. My family enjoy it. They understand it, but I don't know how the world would understand it. If all of a
Mm,
sudden
little
YouTube
did we
feels like
know.
you're on a world stage, you never know who's going to watch. So then I put it out there, and what happened is YouTube featured Mixed Nuts. It's a video called Mixed Nuts, and that's when like things blew up. My website crashed. I was like, that video?
Oh.
Why that video? The
Wait,
lighting
that's
is
funny.
terrible. My wig is like messed up and
Mhm.
whatever. But that's what really got the visibility out there and started
Yeah.
to build the ever so loyal HappySlip audience.
Yes, yes. You know, as I reflected on you on HappySlip and truly when my sister came in earlier and said hi to you, like we did grow up watching you, and I know that you hear that a lot and you're
Mhm.
still like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. But I was thinking why it was so significant for a lot of us. Like I'd watch it with my Filipino friends and cousins and our
Mhm.
community. We just knew Happy Slip. And it's because, and I'd love your thoughts on this and why you think it resonated so much with your audience. But especially being Filipino, very,
Yeah.
very rarely do you see your own experiences represented like anywhere. So, you grow up, you watch TV shows and read books, and nothing relates much to what the in home,
For experience.
in
Uh-huh.
cultural experience is. So you just assume that it's only private, right? That you're
Hmm.
it's confined to your experience.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden when you see Happy Slip and you're representing these really intimate inside the household moments that we all know so well, and you're reenacting your family scenes, but you're actually reenacting all of ours. And so it brought this belonging together and recognizing your own self through you, and this feeling of being connected, because that's what we as humans want. And especially when you're kind of an underrepresented community, we want to feel, you gave us this feeling of like connection with laughs and like, this is something we all go through, and she's
Yay.
impersonating all, like, great. So that's what it was. When I think about it, of like, we just all felt connected through you at a time when you rarely see our
Mhm.
experiences. So I just want to know if that's what you kind of felt as well, and what you think your own show, what you started to see it meant for all of your audiences.
Yeah, it just blew the roof off of what I felt I could do at that point. I was
Mm.
like, there were in those beginning YouTube years, I would find nights where I couldn't sleep because I had so many ideas and like moments of growing up that I have to make a skit out of that. I have to make blowing our noses with toilet paper. I got to write a skit about that. I got to incorporate that or something like that.
Yeah. Like there's just
Here
so
you go,
much.
weave that in there. And so and I still feel that now is
Yeah.
being authentic to, this is the life that I live.
Yeah.
And if people have followed me through the years, they know my heart is not to make an ill will of um of our culture, but
Okay,
it's more just a reflection of it. And
right.
so people would identify with them like, oh, okay, so they're acting like my family does. They would laugh at themselves. It's just
Yes.
a whole
Yeah, we
uh
laugh at ourselves though, right? We poke fun at each other anyways, so it
they're
makes
pretty
sense.
good at laughing at themselves. So
Yeah.
it was good that you could feel almost like a global out, just people writing from different countries, and you felt like this global Filipino family in a living room, just kind of watching
Yeah.
our own experiences play out. So to
Yeah.
take that to the live stage. Oh, and then were you trying to trace then how did I get from YouTube to then the live stage? Or
Yeah, that, but I know that you had your New York story spoke a lot to me. I don't know where that falls in. I kind of forgot the chronological
oh
order.
yeah. And I guess I
But
was
can you
uh
tell us about your New York City story?
sure.
Because
Yeah, I was
um
afraid I would make it so long, but okay, so back up when I kind of skimmed over when I said the mainstream acting. I was doing the auditions. I was trying to fit in the director's boxes and all that kind of stuff. Um, but my husband, on the personal side, he was sacrificing for me to be in New York City. I lived with my sister in an apartment and living the dream, living the actor's dream. But I was union, SAG, AFTRA, had a reputable agent, and I was working. I was a working actress, but they weren't exciting parts. They weren't movies and big commercials and TV shows and stuff like that. There weren't any roles to even audition for
yeah,
that. The only way I found myself getting in any auditions were through the commercial department, and they were
yeah,
mostly like industrials,
yeah.
training films. They
And
took
to
women.
get the order right, was this
Yeah.
at what point of your life was this? Was this like post Happy
Oh,
pre pre
pre
YouTube?
Happy
Mhm.
Slip, because the
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, cool.
So
Pre Happy
okay,
Slip.
yeah. So here's where I told you I was on that trajectory of saying I need to be a nurse as a backup profession, and I'm going to pursue acting, and that's what brought me to New York City. I eventually got the agent and was union. I was working, but like I said, they weren't exciting jobs. But what was I going to complain about? I was like, well, but and like my agent sat down and told me, she was like, well, after my husband sacrificed for me to be there for 2 years to pursue acting. And yes, while I was getting paid jobs, it wasn't, what was this dream supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
Am I living the dream? Am I making enough for him to say, yes, let's live in New York City now? I mean, I felt like he was sacrificing, and every other weekend he would come visit me, or I would fly there, fly back to our home in Virginia. So he was sacrificing for me to live away for 2 years. That's a lot to ask, and of someone. So
Yeah.
after 2 years, I was like, well, I think I've done my part. I don't think the world is ready for any major acting parts, and roles that
Yeah.
are, I just don't see, it wasn't
It just
creatively fulfilling.
yeah, it
And
was
I
something
felt,
like something wasn't clicking for you there, right? And this is the whole sentiment of like everything looks like it's in place and people are like, "Oh yeah, this is what happens. Like you're on your way to the dream. This is all falling into place." But for you it wasn't sitting right and you
no.
had to listen to your intuition.
Right, exactly. And not only that, when I talk about the, overarching identity, yet again, a lesson that I learned through those years is that I can't sacrifice one of these key identities. So I wasn't a mother yet,
Mhm.
but as a wife, I was stressing that, I mean, I was compromising that relationship in the sense of he was sacrificing for me to do that. And some people might say, yes, get rid of anything that gets in your way,
Mhm.
pursue your dreams at all costs.
Yeah.
And it's like my agent told me that even. And so here
Yeah.
it is after 2 years. I'm like, he's sacrificed enough. He got stationed again in Virginia, and I was like, I'm not gonna stay in New York. And so I was pretty much saying, okay, Lord, you go back and say, I am not going to define myself by this, what I do career type thing right here. I am first going to follow like what I feel God says to me and what's good for the marriage. And so it was very hard for me. I felt like I had to die to my dreams and like my advice for anyone out there is there may be times and seasons in your life where you think your dream is dying, or you think I'm not going to be able to live out my dream, but just wait, because it's probably a redirect.
Mm,
Okay, you're not born for nothing.
mhm.
uh, God has incredible purpose for your life, all for the purpose, in my opinion, to glorify him and bring him
Yeah.
glory. So
Yeah. What's the
I
key thing there? Is it like when it seems like you are losing hold of the dream, or like you're going in a different direction because you have to, like, what's the important thing to listen to within yourself? Is it that like you can trust yourself, that, where do
oh
you hold on to?
it was definitely just right back to what's healthy, at this
Yeah.
point. After 2 years, like, obviously, I'm not going to keep dragging this out. And not only that, you lose a sense of peace if it's a
Yeah.
wrong situation. And so
Mm,
I had these two nightmares that were months apart from each other, but they were just these really morbid pictures of New York City, where it was like, buildings crashing and burning, and
mm.
just fire and explosions. So I would write it down. I had a dream journal, which tells you that I didn't have any kids back then, because I had time to have a dream journal. And then I wrote the other one, which was, and some people might have seen this. I told this story on that TFCU talk, but where it's the Empire State Building, and there's a big gaping hole in the top, and it's a black hole. And I find myself in this dream scared that I'm going to fall in the black hole. And so I'm holding on to the edges of the building on the top. And then here comes my husband, Steve. He picks me up and carries me off with a very concerned look on his face, and he carries
Mm,
me off. And I didn't know what that was. I was like, that was weird, but it just helped contribute to my feeling that my time in New York City is done. Like,
yeah.
I tried to do the acting thing. It didn't take off the way I thought it would. But my agent sat me down and said, why are you planning to leave New York City? You are a working actress. There are this many people that come to New York City to pursue acting, and this many get jobs. You are a working actress. Why are you going to leave? She sat me down in her office. She shut the door so that she could talk to me seriously. She said, you don't leave New York City. And I said, but my husband. And she said,
Mm.
husband schmusband, you stay in New York City. And talk about a crossroads and a temptation to say, oh,
You're right. Yeah.
oh,
Like
okay,
kind of being like guilted into it. Yeah.
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 And I just, so then literally Steve drives me out of the city 3 weeks before 9/11. And I was supposed to work as a nurse 3 blocks away from the World Trade Center. And
Oh,
in the dream where the buildings are flexing and breaking, and I actually wrote in quotes, the building is actually collapsing.
gosh.
And no one knew the towers were going to come down. And I looked at that. I saw the second plane go in, and I thought to myself, I'm supposed to be working there right
That
now
is so
as
crazy.
a nurse. And I know that I would have run there
Yeah.
in the nurse's uniform and just been available to help anybody,
Mhm.
but no one knew the buildings were going to come crashing down.
Mhm.
So I do feel that was
A spirit-led gift,
kind of like,
a
yes,
dream.
and a
Yeah.
warning to help me just
Yeah.
transition out of that time.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
overall, if I were to lose my hope, if all my identity was in the acting thing, then I lose focus. That a good thing becomes the ultimate thing, and that's where it's dangerous, because then you start forsaking all others just for
Yeah.
that dream,
Mm.
and later on you'll have many regrets. So, and I didn't want to face that kind of regret.
I like that you point that out, because I think we are subscribed to this narrative that like you go all in. There's you just kind of like, when all the pieces are right, just keep following that, and follow the linear kind of journey. Well, I guess it's not linear, but it's it's sentimentalized that like when you're in the right time and the right place, you just stay at your dream. You go there, and a lot of times like that's kind of that's not taking into account like when it's not feeling right for you, or you have to make adjustments. Maybe you have to back off a little to do what's healthy and sustainable in your life right now, and we don't talk about those moments enough, or say like, hey, that's actually a priority, and that
Mhm.
it's okay to let go a little bit because it'll still be there, and right now you take care of you, and you take
Yes.
care of like the the people that you love around you. And that's exactly what you did. And I think that it's also like, it was in your intuition that that was a, you know, regardless of all, like your agent even sitting you down. And um,
Mhm.
so I appreciate that, like that as a lesson, because some, like we do say, like, drop everything for the dream. Like, just go all in if you know it, and you knew it, you knew what you wanted to do. And I think that once you kind of like, I'm also in this season of realizing, like, when you let go, you kind of let things fall into place more, but you have to like let go a little bit and surrender to,
Mhm.
you just surrender to, like, the higher force, right? The universe. And you surrender your plans a little bit, and something that's more meant to be will fall into place. And so tell me what, how things transpired after that, when you let go of the reins of the typical acting journey, and it kind of grew from there, and how you even started to evolve as a person.
Yes, I think that everything in life boils down to a trust issue. Who are you
Hmm.
going to trust? Yourself, you know,
Mm.
or is it God? In my case, that's how I see it. Everything's a trust issue. And so if I didn't trust him and his ways, I would have been like, yeah, forget the marriage. Like, I'll just do the acting thing. Like, if I just went with a carnal, like, oh yeah, yeah, look what she said. Like, only this many people are acting. I can't give that up. Like, you know what I mean? Um, so I think if everything's a trust issue in these different seasons of my life, I've had to trust that it looks like I'm dying to this, or it looks like I'm failing at this. So whether it be the mainstream acting thing in New York, and then I did the YouTube thing, and then the other life thing that was happening was kids. Am I going to have more kids, or am I going to say, no, you know what? No more kids, because it's all about the dream. But I
Mm.
still had these other identities. It's like wife, and I want to be a mother. So I had to make this decision of, am I going to throw this out and say, no, 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 no more? It's like you're having to weigh these things out. And then that picture of a jigsaw puzzle, right? So instead of
Mm.
forcing where these pieces are supposed to go together, they look like they go, and I'm going to put them together. Whereas I feel that overall our life is already planned by a master planner. He's got the picture on the box and we are busy like slowly putting the pieces together, you know. And another picture that I feel would be accurate in my life would be an orchestra, right? So if it could be you and all the other dreams that you have, or the other things you want to be. If you want to be a wife, you want to be a mother, you want to pursue this or pursue that. But an orchestra pays attention to the
A
conductor.
doctor. Mm.
You can't just play what
Play
you want
whatever. Yeah.
whenever you want. It's
Yeah.
like you're paying attention, you're waiting.
You're part of
And
a bigger song and a bigger band too.
yes, you're
Mm.
part of the bigger picture. And so when you play and you pay attention to that conductor, it's this beautiful symphony. So I have had to like reluctantly put down my instrument and be like, okay, wait for the conductor, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there would always be something new,
Yeah.
like the YouTube era. And then when that had to fold, because I was like, I never play by the rules of the game. It's like I didn't play the mainstream rules. YouTube, it was like, if you're going to be on top, you got to crank the videos out. Like it used to be once a week. Then everyone was like, every day you have to do videos every day. You have
Gosh,
to
yeah.
vlog every day.
Yeah.
You have to be on social media like all the time. And I just don't play the game the way that everyone does. And so
Yeah.
will I ever hit 1 million subscribers? No, I don't think so. I don't play the game. And so I could be looked at as a failure there. Oh, she never hit a minute. She never hit a minute. You know what I mean? But then they don't
Yeah.
realize that I've
But is that what you
invested.
care about anyways? It's
I
like,
don't.
that's like not the thing. Is these systems that they're like, if you want to be successful, you have to do this and this and this. Like, I get the same thing with like podcasting. There's all these like how, like, these courses and success systems out there. And I realized, I was like, well, maybe because your idea of success and your end goal is the numbers, but you know, for a lot
Yeah,
of people, it just might not be that. It's something else. And
right. And I want to
so
build into something that's going to last and have a legacy and build
yeah.
into eternity. And whether I have
Mhm.
600,000 survivors of HappySlip,
We
if I have
survived.
6 subscribers or 600,000 or 6 million, who cares at the end of the day? Because it's not going to change anything in eternity. But like sewing into the kids, investing into them, investing into the marriage. To me, that's building into eternity. So I had to give that up. I even had to give up the YouTube dream. But then later, and I thought no one was really engaged with HappySlip stuff. No one's going to come out to live shows. So when the opportunity came for that, I recoiled. I thought no one's going to even come to me like
Ooh,
making.
tell us the Davis story.
So that's what led to the next evolution. So very bumpily, I'm telling you the story of how one season ends. You think it's completely over, but a rebirth of your creative energies in a new way that you never thought, you know? And then you think that's died, and you go, well, I guess I have to die to that again. Oh, well, another door.
There's another one. Yep. And
So,
and then you start to evolve as a person too, like your gifts and talents, they change, they more come out that you thought, but it required the end to a season, right?
Yes, it required that. And so, again, I didn't feel like, I've always wanted to do a comedy tour, but I don't think anyone will come out. It's not like I'm really in touch on social media, and I don't pump out the videos all the time. So, but when I went and gave that little speech there at the TFCU thing, and the people that came out really had a connection with HappySlip, it gave me the boost to say, you know what, I can still do this thing. And so launched the first ever HappySlip comedy tour last year, 22 cities. And I'm glad to say, when I stood on that stage, I was like, I was born to do this. I love this. Yeah. This is what the HappySlip comedy started as, and it came full circle. And so my last show was at Gotham Comedy Club in New York City. Oof. June of last year.
You were back in New York City. Hey.
Back where everything started, where I was told, so many different things by even other agents before I landed my reputable agent. There were others that were like, you're not going to be anything in this industry. You're not going to make anything of yourself. Like people talking down to you that way. And, and then all of a sudden I find myself on Gotham Comedy Club stage, like, what am I doing?
Sold out show.
What am I doing? And so I felt like when I stood up there and just soaked it all in, I thought, if I never get to do this again, at least I came full circle back to where I started and got to experience that energy of, of the audience and connecting so well. And I said, this is, for my identities, yes, but then what I do came full circle, and I felt like this feels natural. I have the natural energy to do this, and I love it. And if I never get to do it again, at least I could enjoy this moment. And maybe that was a forbidding feeling for what is that the right word? But what's the word? Not
foreshadowing.
And also it was an ominous feeling, because I was like, why am I thinking that? Why am I up there thinking,
oh my gosh.
But it's because 2020 was coming. and
Christine, I think you have psychic abilities or something. You just
my goodness, why would I think that? But who knows what the next season is? Because again, I've had to feel like, something that was going so well, now I have to.
That is not to say you will not be back on stages after.
And who knows? Again, it comes back to a trust issue. Am I going to trust myself, or am I going to trust it? The Lord knows what he's doing. Even if I don't get to do it again, he's going to find other ways for me to use creative energy,
right?
Not for myself, but to give glory to him, and to also encourage other people and to spread joy.
Yes.
So however he's going to do that in the next season, I don't know, but let's stay tuned, because I don't know what it's going to look like.
Oh man, I love that story, especially when you said you're like, you got on stage and you're like, this is what live comedy is. Like, it's nothing as the same as like kind of recording a video and putting it on YouTube, and then you're on the stage and you're getting that immediate like, reaction, connection with your audience. Tell us what that's like.
Well, it was a great, all the shows were, I just felt so, connect, like, that's why I've been spoiled by live shows, because sitting and editing a video, there's still creative energies, yes, and I can enjoy that, but being in front of the audience is like just being able to improv off the energy of the audience is wonderful. But that last show in New York City, the audience was so ready for a good laugh, ready for a good time, and we were just there enjoying each other, but they were laughing even before I could get a sentence out. I'm like, and then the mom said, and they're like, And then I was like, oh my gosh, like it was a room full of aunties and cousins, and that's what it felt like. Not that they were truly aunties and cousins, but you know what I'm saying.
But it felt
And
like that, yeah.
it felt like that. And they were the most receptive crowd. All the crowds were great and excellent. But this one, I was like, what is this? It was a great note to end on as far as that. And then the standing ovation at the end, to the point where I'm like uncomfortable, because I'm like, oh, sit down now. I don't know what am I supposed to do? You know, and I'm not saying that as a pat on my shoulder. It was more just like experiencing that moment. Like, how is this happening? This doesn't make any sense to me, you know. But
Mm-hmm. Oh
it's a
man.
wonderful thing.
I will have to sit in your next live
Oh,
show. Okay. I'm going to be there just so you know.
do it, Krystl.
Front row. Um, I I wanted to ask about this phrase that we used on our first talk. And I think it encompasses all of this, but I think you referenced it from a past talk that you had. The 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 failing journey to success.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels backwards when you hear it, right? But it's like a failing journey to success. So how would you define that? And how did that illustrate your journey to this? And what can we as listeners take away? A lot of us, a lot of people listening to this show are people who are also starting to venture off into truly like what they're passionate about, what gives them purpose. That also looks like veering off the roads, but really following that, and taking into account that it is a failing journey, but it's a beautiful journey upwards. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to misdirect people into thinking that, and we discussed this too, just like when sometimes you'll see actors that are getting their Oscars and they're like, if I can do it, you can. And anyway, you know, like,
Get up
just follow
here.
your dreams, never give up, and you can do it. I can. And I'm like, wow, like, that's not true, you know?
Also,
And so
privilege
I,
is a thing.
you know, it's like, I understand this thing of this many actors and this many roles, and I understand reality, and I would do my best to mentor along people that were seeking their passion. But I would also say, hold it lightly.
Mm,
Know what your natural ability is. What are you unique at? Don't just look at somebody else or somebody else's success and say, I'm just gonna do that because I want to copy that. It's like, what are you naturally good at?
mhm.
And then find the different ways to grow that. And so the failing journey is like, take take from my experience that that's what it is. Every single major decision or turn in my life can be defined as, oh, that was a failure. So I got married at 18, and people are like, well, you're a failure. You're getting married at 18. That's not going to last. 26 years later. Okay. Am I saying, everything I choose was the right thing, as far as not the marriage part. I'm talking about like when I chose to live away from him for 2 years in New York City. I don't think, looking back in retrospect, that was the right thing to do. But, God was able to use it. So what I'm trying to show you is an imperfect, fallible, I mean, lumbering through life type of person like me, that's like, I guess, I mean, I have my passion. I want to act. I want to, there, overall, God was always
Always,
directing me,
yeah.
even when I made a mistake. It's like,
Yeah.
and so I'm not holding myself up. Look at my, it's more of like, look at the failing journey, that the hope was always there, that even when I felt like I'm dying to this dream, oh, actually it's taken this turn. Oh, I'm dying. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's not turning out the way I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, so hold whatever it is that your passion is, or that you're looking at, hold it lightly, because you might, as the years go by, you realize, oh, it's not acting necessarily that I'm supposed to do, it's comedy that I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you get more defined in what
Yes.
it is that you're natural at. Because
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's what I should be doing. I thought just
Mhm.
acting, just anything acting. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until a friend was telling me one day, what, well, that's good, you're doing that. But you know what? You're funny.
Mm.
I remember thinking that was a turning point. What?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's super realistic, right? And I think early on we tend to think about like, what do I like to do and what am I good at, and then we go to a box. Like we go to a box that is already put out for us by like maybe society or what other career success stories look like, and we kind of follow that instead of actually we can look inside ourselves and be like, what am I passionate about and how can I create something out of that? And we mentioned this before, but like even trailblazing and this creative aspect of like we don't have to be said career title role job. You can create something on its own, and also mentioning the piece about like God working things together for good. When I that made me reflect on my own journey. Like after graduating college, like I was really into activism, so I thought I was going to be in government, politics, and I kept getting rejected from all these things there, and I was like, wow, that was never like for me. Like my dream is failing, and then I went into tech, and then I found things coming out there that looked like I was interested in diversity work in tech. And I was like, maybe this is it. And then also looking back, you're like, retrospect, you see, you could have made better decisions, or like, oh, I made a terrible decision there, or like that wasn't right. But it wasn't yourself that saved you. I think that God does this amazing job about taking what you did and repurposing it and getting really
Mm,
creative with it and saying like, yeah, you made that decision, um
yeah,
but let's make here's what we I can repurpose for you for that. And then like
sure.
for me, I think it came out to be like, yeah, maybe I'm not a politician, but actually what I found that I love to do is um elevate other people and have meaningful conversations with them and increase representation. I'm big on empowering women. And so that in itself, it's like, it sounds like it's smaller, but it's actually the biggest thing. And it reminds me with what you said, it wasn't acting, it was comedy. It was
Mm.
your expression of that, you know?
You were zoning in on what is it exactly, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
know unless you tried these different things.
Yeah.
And so that's a great, just sharing that experience for people that they might be afraid that they're going to mess up here and there, and guess what, you're going to mess up here
Yeah.
and there. You're going,
Yeah.
just don't let go of your morals, obviously, of the main things.
Your
Don't lose your
values. Yeah.
identity. Don't find your identity in things and what you do. If you would just get the major things right, your identity right, then
Yeah.
I feel like those other things, you'll, after trying so many different avenues, like you said,
Yeah.
you're zoning in, you're finding something that, oh, this is a natural energy that I
Yeah.
love to do. Oh, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and I think that's, if you hold that lightly
Mm.
and you concentrate on priorities first,
That's good. That's good.
then that means
Yeah.
you're holding it lightly. And so every time it was looking like it was going to be yanked away from me, I'm like, okay, trust issue again. Okay, Lord, you know what
Wow.
you're doing. Because if I'm going to hold on tight to that, I don't know what, I'm going to really mess things
Yeah,
up.
it's
So,
almost like when you hold on so tight to it, you're actually constricting it from the growth that it could be, right?
yes,
So what I take away from your story is almost like it almost feels like you're losing the growth and whatever, but you're actually kind of like letting it go to become bigger and a different thing than you would have just constrained it to be yourself. Or
yes,
even like it's okay to let go because it's actually a redirection, and
mm,
you're you're allowing what's actually innate and there already to grow in its own, which was for you, it's like it was never this box or this box is this box. It's always evolving and it's always
always
becoming
been, yeah, and always been
unpredictable.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
Nobody could ever say this, this is what the track of your life. I did not plan all this to happen. Like, I didn't know that this was going to happen this way. But that's why I
Yeah.
feel, if you're holding whatever your passions are lightly, then you're going to be able to be
To
led.
flow, exactly.
Go, go
Be
with the
led
flow.
and to receive. I think that's the hardest thing. It's like we don't know
Exactly.
how to trust that we're going to receive, right?
Because if you're
So,
trying too hard to control it, like you said, it's
yeah.
just going to slip right through your
Right.
fingers.
Right. Exactly. Oh, so
Yeah.
good. Do you have any other like really major like takeaways from, I always like to call them pivotal moments, pivot points, um that we can learn from your journey, even if it means right now, like even if it means big lessons that you're learning in your current season, because we're always growing. Your story isn't like A to Z and then you're like, boom, and I'm here.
I think I kind of reflected that on that earlier, is that
Yeah,
2020 threw everyone for a curve. I mean, they're
totally.
there on New Year's Day, you know, it turned 2020 and we're jumping up and down and 2020, and it's still to
New
me,
vision.
you know, I have adjusted yet again, and I don't know what it's going to look like for HappySlip or the comedy, because again, I have to, I could sit there and concentrate on comedic skits and do them weekly, but then the family would suffer and we wouldn't be earning anything. So, you know, there's that. I got to eat, you know. So that's why we had a family business at this point. But I think, again, it's that the scripture that comes to mind is, you know, God's word is a lamp unto our light unto our path, a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. So a lot of times it's a lamp at our feet showing us which next step to take. Not,
But we can't see what's ahead.
yeah, sometimes, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes you might have a general feeling of things like the light down the path, but more often than not, it's the lamp at the
Oh,
feet,
I
so
never
that we
understood it
one
that
step
way.
at
Thank
a time.
you, Pastor Christine. Thank you.
And no, that's helped me, because again, it's the same thing, just even with the jigsaw puzzle or the orchestra picture.
Yeah.
It's like you're recognizing that you're not in control.
Control. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
you're
how much
part of the,
control are you going to have? You
yeah.
can only have so much control, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I just actually wanted to say this, but whenever I use two analogies, and I actually came up with this over the summer, I actually use analogies of a puzzle and orchestra also.
what?
It's so crazy. When you said that earlier, I was like, no way.
No.
I thought I
She
was original. Like
uh, no, Crystal's like, did I accidentally email her my
that was
notes?
my idea. Okay.
Oh, and here
Well,
I thought I was being brilliant when I
no,
came up with that earlier
but
about the.
it's a brilliant analogy. And I was part of orchestra of band in
Oh.
high school. So that's why it was always like, wait, you're part of the bigger symphony. You look for the conductor because he knows
Yeah.
the whole piece, all this stuff. And then with
Mhm.
puzzles, it's like you just got to look for the next puzzle piece and then trust that you're part of this bigger, beautiful picture, So
It's
when
kind
you
of
said that,
forcing, always forcing what you
don't
think is right.
exactly,
You
don't
can't
force
force. You got to be flexible to say, maybe that doesn't go with that. Okay, let me put
yeah,
that to the
try the
side
next
for
one.
now. Just like your passion might have to be put
Exactly.
to the side for this
Yes.
season of life. So I
It'll
guess
fit
overall,
later. Yeah. Oh
it may
my
fit
goodness.
later. Like, so it's seasons. It's life. Life is in seasons, and you never know what each season is going to bring. But as long as you
Exactly.
keep your priorities and your eyes fixed on the right thing, and the right person, in my case is like, if my eyes are fixed on Christ and I follow him, I'm like, I'm not, he's going to lead me. So otherwise you would be full of anxiety during this time. You'd be
Oh,
like, my
totally.
dreams, my plans, I'm not in control.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
there's so much unrest in this, in the United States right now. And it would be easy to be lost in
Oh,
all
totally.
of that and be depressed about it. But it's like, okay, Lord, but you are still in control. And
Mm-hmm.
so anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I will get off of my
Yes. Oh,
preaching thing. But I'm letting you know
preach
how
it.
I think and what makes me have joy during this season, what makes me have hope. It's because I realize this life is just a blip in all of eternity.
Totally.
And what are you doing in this life that's a blip right here on the radar of
Mm-hmm.
eternity? What are you doing now that will count for all eternity? I'm not trying to put it into subscribers on YouTube. I'm like, if what you do resonates with people and you build an audience, it's like, okay, but the important thing is, are you finding joy in what you're doing and
Absolutely.
giving, who cares if you're doing that but you're on a treadmill, like just like everybody else, trying to keep
Yeah.
up with it. It's not. You got to
Totally.
start with what's true to you, what's natural for you to do, what you were born to do, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that. It's something I'm actually experiencing right now where like I should be doing this and I should be building out this like marketing scheme and to get these numbers. And it's like, who cares? That will come maybe, in its own way. But like you said, it's like, are you doing what you're proud of, what's giving you joy, what you're really here for? And it's
Mhm.
simple. Don't overcomplicate it. It's just like kind of like bring it back home to like what you know makes you happy to do, and kind of like surrender the rest. It'll yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, but you know, I wanted to end on something funny. I think I mentioned this in the beginning. Can you tell us about a moment that, because what was happening earlier in this call that we're like, oh no.
When we're talking about live moments, you mean like the disaster moments?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. In real time kind of disaster moments that it was like, oh no. And I think we've all had that, especially when you're a performer or you're putting out content out there. There's always kind of like
Uh-huh.
a in the moment freak out
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, just to come to mind as far as live show woes,
Live show.
our New Jersey show. So RJ Random Ridge, aka Random Ridge on Instagram, opened for me on a lot of these shows last year. And so we're on this, there's a point in the show where we're on there singing a song together or whatever, and my water bottle or his water bottle or something got tipped over, and so here goes this water falling on the stage, just kind of spreading, right? And I'm in the middle of playing the piano, and initially I think there was a moment of like freak out for him, because he was like and he's like backing out
Oh my
into
god.
the rain, right? And then as the auntie, I mean, I go into the auntie persona. I was like, where are you going? Come back here. And I just start singing and incorporating the spill into the song,
Nice.
and didn't miss a beat. We just kept going with it. And so that's what I love about the live show, is you don't know what's
What's
going
gonna
to
happen?
happen. And I love to react to
Improv something. Yeah.
unanticipated
Yeah.
moments. So that, and that's more of a I solved it kind of thing. But Ruby Ibarra invited me on one of her live shows on Instagram, and she was like, oh, and if it would be great if you would get the auntie wig on, and I can interview her and all that. And so 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live, I'm like, I can't find my auntie wig. I couldn't find it. And so that was a freak out, and it had to be funny, because I'm like, where is my wig? My wig? Where is my wig? And so my husband had hung it in a part of the closet that I would not know to look for. And so I'm like, I gave it my and so when I texted her that I couldn't find it, it was just, when you look at it now, it's so hilarious, because he's like, oh, okay.
Back then you're
and
like, oh my
meanwhile,
God,
I'm
where's my
throwing
wig?
the closet around, like trying to find the wig. But when you're just when you're just recording something for YouTube and you're going to edit it, you don't have that sense of urgency. But when you're going to go live, it's like, I can't find my wig. It's just a funny thing. I suppose the kids feel that if they see me and I'm in wig and costume, and they're just looking at me like.
So are your kids just like used to it now, kind of like?
Yeah, there are moments of vlogs in the past where they just kind of they'd have zero reaction to me. They're just like, it's
okay,
normal.
Mom, this is normal for us. Oh, it must be so fun to be. This is funny to say, to be like, it would be so fun to be one of your kids, because every day would just be like hilarious. And
yeah, I'll be reading a story and Timmy's like, why are you talking like that?
They're just like so like eye roll about it now. Just like, Mom, stop.
Mom. Yeah.
So last question, who do you think is most like you?
Oh, with the kids? Definitely Selah, the baby girl, the 4-year-old.
She's funny.
I will just stare at her and be like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. Because she'll be like, I mean, just these weird faces out of nowhere, and be like, ooh, you smell like mommy. Ooh, just really weird and strange, and OA. Like, talk about OA.
You're like, oh, so, this is what the one I passed it down to. Better be ready for the next comedian. She's gonna surpass you.
yeah. I'll pass the baton to you. Thank you very much. My mom's like, oh, she is going to be actress. Oh, look at her.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be a fun one to see how she even like evolves.
Yeah, how she turns out.
Right.
Exactly. Mom, I want a YouTube channel. Oh gosh.
It'll probably be TikTok or something for her. I don't know if that'll still be around. Honestly. Anyways, Christine, do I have time to ask you one last question?
Hey, I mean, I'm afraid that I talked too much and you're going to have editing on your hands, but
It's okay. That's all I do. Just edit. My life is editing. One last question. I think this is always like really meaningful for people, but if you can go back to any time of your life to younger Christine, and kind of tell her something as Ate Christine now,
oh,
what time of your life would you go back and what would you say to her? Kind of like a message, like a gift of a message.
definitely. And I brought it up earlier, is that time where I thought I had to be in control and forced a not so wise situation, which is to live apart from your husband for 2 years, because I thought that's what I had to do to live the dream. I would go back to her and say, God can make it happen
Mm,
if you just trust him. Like, you don't have to force something that's unhealthy,
mm,
but like you said, he
wow.
still weaved that bad decision of mine. And wow, I found the best church community there, that I'm still lifelong friends with those people. And it changed my life. It changed our family's life to be part of that church. And so he
Mm,
still used it. I'm not saying go out there and try to find all the mistakes you can find. You will fail at things. And that's why when the whole thing of the journey, the failures to success, what did I say? The ongoing
failing journey to
failing journey to success. Hello, can I remember what I the failing journey to success. So in the end, all these failures, all these imperfections, all these ways where we fall short, in the end, it just points to who is strong, who is in control, who will take the reins and get the glory for it, because we can then relax and be like, oh, thank God, it's not all on my shoulders
Yep.
to make a success of my life.
Yep.
If you relax for him to do it, and for him to orchestrate, and for him to put the jigsaw puzzle, like we're saying, all these pictures, right? The orchestra, the conductor, you're going to trust the conductor, you can trust the master planner with the jigsaw puzzle. You can live life in so much more joy and no anxiety, because you're like, okay, it's not on me
Yeah.
to weave all this into a
And
great thing. He's going to do
far more growth as a person than you would ever done on your own. Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christine, you are such a light and just like laughter, but you're such a witness. Your faith is beautiful. And I mean, even on our talk, like every lesson has been it's integrating into even my life and this season, and I'm sure for a lot of people now. Thank you for always bringing it home to like what actually matters. Like I can be over here and asking you, tell us your story and like this and what you did to be successful, and then you just pointed back to who's ultimately in control, and I love that, and I see that from your journey. So thank you for being that light for all of us, and kind of reminding all of us like where it actually matters. So thank you.
Exactly. As far as well, thank you for allowing me to share that, because if I can say, people can learn from my failures and then realize at the end of the day, he's the one that makes it a success. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just then you can feel a little more free.
Relax. Yeah. Free.
Not all on
Exactly.
you.
Yes.
Not a little more free, completely free. So
just a little.
a tiny bit, just a smidgen.
Oh, well, thank you. And I still think that I might have disappeared in one of your dreams and told you about the fun orchestra, because I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, Krystl. It's you.
Well, thank you, Christine. I really enjoyed it. Bye.
Alrighty, bye.